we got to the end of page Samach A. So I think we did the last paragraph. Let's just go over that one. Well, according to this assumption that if you hold that Lishma is before Lisha, he says we can answer because he brought him a chok showing him how to paskin. Lefiza nicha divri haram. You had the place the last paragraph. Lefiza nicha divri haram shebeis l'mayla to sover yotzim im nilo shemei paris l'chud, that he held paying Paris by itself as good. Veinu nikra matzah shir, because only those four things are matzah shir, but payros are not matzah shir. Shekal kashtav kushas Ramban, the Rabban asked the kasha, shehu v'sham kiven de eino machmitz, if the may Paris are machmitz, im kain eichnas kaim u'shmartim. So how do you, it's not shaykh shmira, if it can't become chametz, there's no shmira from chametz, right? So how could it be that may Paris are good? Well, this we read last week. I mean, the Ramam Koy B'Shita Sarif the Rabo to sow with the Shemer code and be didn't need Shmira. It was coming out Machokas in the Gemara, but Ramam passed like the Rif that you needed Shmira before Shaskasir. I think that was Rava. The Shemer the Lisha last Shemiru, because if you only start the Shmir from Lisha on, it's not good enough Shmir. You need Shmir before the Lisha. Ayin Ramam Kan Perikay Elachates. Im Kain is Kaim Mitzvah Shemur Kodam Lisha. So you could do the Shemur before the Lisha. So in a Chanami, when you're doing Lush B'mei Paris, there's no Shmira. But you could, so how do you do Ramban's conscious? So what do you do with the Shmartim? So Shmartim, you could even kind before. B'yochol Walush B'mei Paris. Afagav the Eino Machmitz.
We had our problem with that.
We had what happened. He seemed to disregard the fact that you always have to be shomer that water doesn't come in. That was our problem. I didn't work on it. So I'm thinking that maybe we should finish it and see if he deals with it. The same way we could answer the Ramban's kasha in the Balamor. The Echef Shalafarish below Mayim. How could he say that the talking made Paris without water? To a boy Shemer B'Shas Lisha V'Afiyah. And what's the Shemer if there's no water there? Because according to this, you don't need Shemer. B'dai b'Shemer shekodem lemisha. So he's saying that Einachanami could be there is no Shemer if it's you're only dealing with Eiveros, there is no Shemer, and but it's not a kasha because you could be Mekayim with Shmartim before. Umash Hevi Ramban Raya Meharishalmi. Ramban brings a raya to his for that you have to be able to Mekayim Shmira. Rishalmi Perik Beis Halachadal, the Ein Yotzim B'Revucha. I guess Revucha is only Shem, and there was no water in this Revucha, this Mincha. It says you can't be Yotzi the Sarach Shemur, because since there's no water, there's no Shemur. So the Ramban brings a right from here that you need something which needs Shmira. Near B'Einai, Nira, the boy Shemer Daf B'Shas Lish, and that Rishalmi is talking about because the Revucha was made with Shem, and that was B'Shas Lisha. He says, so you see that Yerushalmi does require Shmer B'Shas Lisha, and it says the Svara. So you see against what our time that you have to still be Shomer. You see the Yerushalmi is not like us. We were saying maybe as long as you're watching out the water doesn't fill. But you see the Yerushalmi isn't like that. The Yerushalmi says you can't be Yotzi with a Revucha because you don't have Shmira. Why don't you have Shmira? Yeah, you could watch it from water to see. You see, that's not called. If you're using Meperis or Shemin or something like that, you don't call that a Chisaron.
I'm just wondering if Shemer can't be to make sure that it makes the 18 minutes. Is it possible to find Shemer like to ensure that
it's baked before 18 minutes? Why not?
So because if you define the Shemer that way, then it only is once you have water that you have Shemer, but still you're concerned beforehand that water doesn't get to it. So why aren't you concerned the water doesn't fall into this?
It's Sarkasha, but you see, Shami wasn't bothered with that either.
Yeah, but then I'm wondering whether that's what I'm trying to think. If Shemer is really
in addition, there's additional Shemer besides that.
Or there's
where would that come from? Well, let's first finish about Shemer. So the Amos, he says, "Being Rishalmi ein Rai." He says you can't bring a Rai with Rishalmi. Why? Rishalmi the Shitaso, because if Rishalmi holds, the Shitaso was going according to Rishalmi sheet, the Shemer the Lisha have a Shemer. Because they hold you only need Shemer from the time of Lisha. In other words, the pasuk of Shmartim and Samanso starts with the Lisha. So therefore, you can't say his shot that you had shmira before the lisha, because Yerushalmi holds there's no such thing. Shmira shmartim samatzos is from the lisha. Kamosha kasav tosas beyadav kimul halti softi yermaskil sera the mavori b'Yerushalmi Shabbos and beya to be yantav asur min haTorah kol malachas kodam lisha. Where there's a whole question. It says malachas ochel nefesh is mutter on yantav, right? And what's called malachas ochel nefesh. So the Yerushalmi says that it's from lisha on. But even any work you do even with things you're going to use for food, but if it's before the stage of lisha, it's not called malachas ochel nefesh. And how does it know that? Because it says Yerushalmi says asur min haTorah kol malachas kodam lisha shenemar, because it says in the pasuk achar sheyochel l'chol nefesh, and right after that it says usamach le'ushmartem es matzos. So the Yerushalmi learns that achila l'chol nefesh is from lisha v'elech. So you see, Yerushalmi learned that shmartem es matzos is referring to lisha, because that's how they learn out that malachas ochel nefesh starts from lisha, from the smichus to shmartem es matzos. Hainu mi lisha v'elech. In came aboard the Hajj of Yerushalmi. So you see from that Yerushalmi, the shimur, the lisha have a shimur. In came bein and shimur davke b'shas lisha. So that's why if you don't have shimur from lisha on, you're not going to be able to say shmira. But he says the other shitas, like he's saying the Rif and the Rambam, the sferlu davka shimur meikar beinen. You need shmir from before the lisha, whether it's the ksira or the tzina. Im kain sagi gam kain b'shimur meikara. He said then you could say maisvara that if you could be yotzei, which it's only the Yerushalmi who holds ushmartim samatzo starts at lisha. They say you need shmira from lisha on, and therefore may peros or shemen you're not going to have shmira.
He also by ochel nefesh on I thought we saw it was from the ksira that it's I thought
no, he's going to say if you do a das, so Yerushalmi says it's ochel nefesh from lisha.
That's Yerushalmi. We
paskin. Well, he's going to say it in a second. If you do a das rope or shon in chlon or ramaz al perak al halach miyantav halacha zayin the sobrim the ksiru sharmalikos kodem alisha ain't us on the rabbanan. We also hold, but we'll say that's the in a ksir is also ochel nefesh. From the rabbanan answered from ksira to lisha. This far was because it's not something you don't have to do it on yantav. You could do it before. And
it's the things before ksira that are usher derived.
Right. But from ksira to lisha, we hold as only the rabbanan.
Right. Okay.
Right. Okay. The afsher, kiven the sober the shimur mishas ksira. So according to this, the Rambam could hold that shimur is mishas ksira. He doesn't hold it at Yerushalmi. In kain havi a hekesh gam kain b'ksira. So therefore, if ochel nefesh is ksira, you could say when it says a shmartim samatzos, that's also from ksira, b'shari ksira. Or after tamacher, or maybe there's a different reason, but you're not b'shubah to Yerushalmi anymore. I'm primaganim psichol velchos yanta. This is different for us. So after those stir luk Yerushalmi, that b'klal they don't hold the smichos of the Yerushalmi's dresha ve'enkan v'kamo. I'll call upon him, but he says, but the Yerushalmi is not a kasha, but keeping the spirit like a das a rabbo or rif, him came b'shimur kodem l'lisha, he could do shimur kodem l'lisha, v'shap b'cholan lolish v'mei paris, and there's no problem with using the lisha and mei paris and making that, like Rambam says, because yotzim boah, even though you're not going to have shmir from the lisha on, because he's going with mei paris, you don't like the Shalmi says, from mei paris or shemen, you don't have shmir, but he says you could say maisvar that you're going to be yotzim shmartim esamatzos, with the shmir before. Uma shehevi Ramban Raya Mishas Dilan Daflamachesan Beis. It says Mechalos Toda, because they're also there. It says by Chalos Toda they smeared it with shemen. So what's his right? Let me see. So what's the Ramban's? Right, the more it says a problem, and there's a problem, chalasto, that can't be used for matzah because it's a problem of lishmoah.
That was because of matzah, because of the shiur?
Yeah, the more it said chalos, I'm trying to figure out the concept. The more it said chalos toda is not good for matzah because you need shim or l'shem matzah, and that's not l'shem chalos toda. So he said.
It says over here. I know they bring it down, but I saw the issue by matzah Shiur. Right?
Yeah, so that was a proof that we said chalos toda was a problem. Why say it's a problem of the matzah Shiur?
Why didn't ask because of matzah Shiur?
Why didn't who ask? Where it says it's a chisar l'shlo l'shmoa.
Right. The Sharmel says.
He says Rikiki Nazir wasn't a problem of Shiur because then it's smeared on later. But over here by that, he says the chalos toda was a problem of matzah Shiur.
Right.
So the worst of it could have said because of matzah Shiur, right? It's not lechamoni.
Right.
The worst of it. But what was the Ramban's question? Let me just see from the last words. The fima shekasavda. He says according to my yesod ein raya. Ma'ademi esha maskil hashimur dari tzarech shmira b'chol asiv asiyah kozman sheyuchol lahachmitz. Im kein chalos toda rikika nazir shani lo shah b'mayim v'yochol lahachmitz. V'adei tzarech shimur b'shas lisha afiyah gam kein kivin deruyim lahachmitz. V'kuli al modim. אבל אם עשה שימר באיזה עשייה שעושה צריכה שימור ואחר כך נעשה בעניין שאין יכול להחמיץ ועדי סגי השמירה ושהיה מקודם כמו לאחר אפי עדיין צריך שמירה הוא הדין אם באיזה הלישה נעשה בעניין שאינו צריך שימור גם כן די מכל מקום מסכים למצווה השימור. So he's saying, I guess he's saying by chalos told that it was just shemen. So he says, according to the Rambam, you could be yotzei, you could have been yotzei shmira, and the din of shmira before. Aval hadinim be'ez ha'lisha nasa be'inyan she'enu tzarech shmira gam came die, because he could have done it before. Mikal makom is kaim a mitzvah shimur. In other words, the Ramban was saying by chalos toda, the Gemara said the problem was that the shimur was shalo lishmoa. But you had, but there was a shimur, so you see, even though it was made with the shemen, so he's saying that the shimur was before the lisha. It was before they did that. Okay, aval l'shitas asovrim the ain't sarach shimur kodam lisha. Im kain mitzvah Torah the shimur boy milisha yelach. Tzarech al kopanim mishas lisha she'roy lahachmitz kadesh yiskayin mitzvah shimur kain nir lefiani statis. I'm not sure what the chalos told what he means, but he's sticking to his shita that. But he's saying also another interesting thing. He says even if it was something was nilosh b'mayim and you had shimur, in other words, even if you need shimur b'shas lisha and it was nilosh b'mayim, but if something else happens later that it can't become chametzik, it's not a problem because you don't need. Every process has to be mishumer. As long as there was some process that there was shimur, you're yotzi, you're shmartim as hamatzos.
This goes back to I'm beginning to wonder if there's two different aspects of shimur. You think shimur mishas lisha, it's mishas that water is added. It's a different type of shimur. There's a shimur to ensure water doesn't hit the flour, and there's another shimur that once water's hit the flour, you have to make sure that it's baked correctly. And the machlokas is not just in terms of the time of the shimur. It's what kind of shimur.
I know Achronim say that, but I want to wait to see if he said. I know Achronim say that from times I learn Sachem, but the problem is how do you fit it in? I mean, it's only one pasuk of Shmartim Asamatzos. And once you start that there's two different types of shmir, in other words.
Well, that might be the smachlokas of what shimur actually is. Although if you have shimur,
but you're saying that there's someone who holds that there is two different types of shimurs. So it requires two different. There could be a machlokas in the one who holds shmir mishas lisha holds this kind of shimur.
Right,
the one who holds shmir mishas lisha holds a different kind of shimur. But you're trying to say that it's possible to hold. There's two different types of shmiras, and I remember posting to say that, but that there's a shmir before lisha and there's a shmir after lisha.
Well, I can see the argument in Rishonim that say there's two different types of shimur. So the one who holds shimur mishas lisha needs this type of shimur, and therefore these things make sense because it's only therefore the original question of of the thing with Lisha b'mei peros. It's not a shimur from water. It's a shimur that once you have the water, you have to. So therefore, as long as it's soaking in the mei peros, the idea of a shimur from water getting in there, that's not the shimur that's like that. It's only a shimur to make sure that you have it. Therefore, there's no shimur like that, because if you cook it right away, then you'll never have a shimur, because you never have to be concerned about baking it right away. So that takes sort of say. But the truth is, if you hold shimur mishas ksira, then it really starts to become two different types of shimurs, and that's where point to that.
So the Minchas Chinuch is saying that. So in order for it to say your word, you'd have to say the Minchas Chinuch is saying that if your whole shimur starts before Lisha, it's a whole different process of shimur.
Right.
And the Yerushalmi that holds shmir is mishas
Lisha
holds one way. But he's not really saying it. He's just saying that that's because of mishas Lisha, and so we will before. But you're saying, but what I'm just telling you is, but it's coming out that I remember that Achronim say Lamaisa. We hold you need, let's say, shmir before Lisha.
Yeah. And
even so, we hold there's two inyanim of shmira. And I don't remember how they fit both types into the pasuk of shmira. The whole makom is one pasuk shmira. But maybe he's going to do it. That's what I wanted to wait.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying. But I remember that Achronim actually say lamaisa. There's two different types of shmira. Because I think what they say, I'm just guessing. I don't remember so well.
Yeah.
But I think because they say that. There's a whole shaila, and I'm sure the Minchas Chinuch speaks about this. That's why we wanted to wait. If Chayra Shot V'Kan are doing the lisha, and Yisrael's Omen Al Gabav, is that a shmira or not? Because he's watching the whole process. So they say no. The one who's doing the process has to be shomer l'shmoa, and the Omen Al Gabav doesn't help. But I remember there's some funny say that's only true mishas lisha of Elah, so you can't. But let's say you have a goy being kotzer, there an Omen Al Gabav works to do the shimur l'shmo, because one is a shimur in the procedure, in the process. So there they say you need the one who's doing the process, and Omen Al Gabav isn't going to help. And before the lisha they say. It's just that it has to be Shomer L'Shem, so you don't need the one who's doing the cutting, as long as someone's there, thinking this. But maybe he's going to say
the actual kneading is part of the shimur, because it doesn't count towards the time. But the ksira is not part of the shimur whatsoever.
Yeah, but you need the shas ksira, you need shimur, you need shmur, but it's a different type of shmir. Okay, but I think maybe that's what he's going to get into. I'm not sure. He says, but it's going to be Nagaya when he speaks about Omer Al Gabav. I think I don't know when that's going to happen. It's going to come up for sure. V'nei ben yanim shetzrichim l'shmoa matzinu pamim shestam ahav l'shmoa. He says throughout different inyanim of the Torah, when the Torah says you need the shmoa, we have times that we say stam is l'shmoa, right? And rakim oker b'ferish shalo l'shmoa, it's no good. In other words, the shmoa doesn't require a positive lishma. It just means it can't be shalol lishma. Kigno gabi karbanos. By karbanos we say that let's say a shlamim, you have to, if you check with stam, it's good as long as it wasn't l'shem something else. Ayin reish zvachim, the first Mishnah in zvachim beis and beis. The kama in yanim, there's other cases we have that stama is lo avi lishma. In other words, by karbanos we say the Torah says it has to be done. The avodas have to be in the shma. And it just means you can't do it shalol l'shma. But if you do it stam, not thinking either way, it's kosher. And kamen yanim, in the other cases where we say that you need positive l'shma, and stam is lo havi l'shma. To Mogittin, the Gittin, it says you have to have das l'shma. It's not that you can't have das for someone else, but even you have to have das for this particular person. Stam is not l'shma. To mavur sham, like the Gemara says over there in Gittin. Tzarech beferish l'shma, so a get needs beferish l'shma, not stam. V'ayin Tos is getting Daf Chav Gimel Amon Aleph the Yermaskal Aklum L'Daitei. It says that Aklum does something Al Das Atzmo. The Mila Gam Kain Tosus says Mila is Tamil is also a case where you don't need positive L'Shma L'Shem Mila, but you can't be doing it like over there. The Gemara says L'Shem this Avodah Zarah, right? But Stam Tosus says is L'Shma. V'ayin Menachos Daf and Bezim and Aleph. With toast from Third Maskil to El, with Od Kamal Makomos. You name Mitzvah Sfara nearest, and now he wants to know in what categories do we say Lishma by Matzah. Do we say it's like Karbanas, that Stam is Lishma? And it just means like the case the Gemara says you can't have Kavana for Chalos Toda or Kikei Nazir, because that's Mamish Lishma. So he says, he's Sfara, so what's the din of Stam up when it comes to Matzah? Name Mitzvah Sfara Nira, the Shimur, Kibin Shasarach Lishmor, Dafka B'Mefarish. He says Mitzvah Sfara, if the Torah says you need Shimur Lishmor, you have to positively, I don't think it means that you have to say it, because there are some people say you have to say it. It means that you need a positive Lishmor. Avostama, but if you don't think positive, Lav Lishmor Koi. Because why should Stama be Lishma? He says a lot of times people eat matzah during the year, even not Pesach. V'gam l'shari made Pesach sarach matzah. So even if they're reading of Pesach, but the rest of Pesach doesn't need Lishma, only matzah, the matzah's mitzvah. Okay, v'vadai, he says lush isas matzah stama la lishma klei. So he says, why should I think Menesvara that a person needs matzah? He's doing it l'shem matzah's mitzvah. He could be doing it because he wants matzah the whole year round, or even on Pesach he could be doing it for the rest of Pesach. So why should think Stam is Lishma? The Ayin Prichadash Simen Tav Samach Sivkan Aleph Kasav Gankain, who actually says that the Stam allowed Lishma, the Stam is not Lishma. And what does it say on the bottom? The Kain Hu Navur Ba'or Zerua Hilchas Psachim Simen Reish Ben Tes. Amnam the Ritva Psachim nearer the Stama is Lishma. And Ayin Od Primigadim that discusses this. Okay. So anyway, the Minchas Chinuch Simon, as far as him, he doesn't see why we should say Stam is Lishma. He could be doing it for other things. I don't understand that. Maybe we say, for example, we say Stam is Lishma by Karbanas. And this also, he could be doing it for other, he's shechting an animal, let's say. Who says he's doing it l'shem this animal? Maybe he's doing it for something else. Well, and yet we still say, not only that, the Gemara says...
Where the shechting is? I mean, if you're shechting...
Weird? No, I don't think so, because the Gemara says over there that even if you shech l'shem chulin, it's kosher. That's not called shalol l'shema. There, stam l'shema means the animal... You there. I think the way I remember from Kutchim is that when you're makdish an animal, let's say to be a chattas or to a thing, we say it's stam only for a chattas, and unless you actually have kavanah shalashma to uproot it, even if chulin is not considered uprooting it, because it says chulin is not considered a machshava. So even though it's not the stam lashma, we say down deep subconsciously you had it, because you said it l'shem chulin. But the point is, this animal is considered omed lishma unless you uproot the lishma, and you have to have shlo lishma to uproot it. So by matzah, he's saying. So when he's saying by matzah, you can't say stam lishma. Why karbanis is said? So I don't understand this.
But you're saying when you chose the animal to be a korban,
it's only for that. So then he shouldn't bring in examples of something. So anyway, what he's saying in Asfara, that he holds that there's no reason to stay stam l'shma by matzah, because why should stam be the shma? But the source he's using is because stam, who says his mind? If you learn stam l'shma, means that your mind was subconsciously or something. Your mind was on that. So he's saying by matzah, there's no reason to say that, because you could have been making the matzah for other things. So he says, I am Prichadash Simatav Samach, that says also the stam is lav l'shma. I am Shem Shehevi Raya, and he brings a raya from the Gemara in Chulin Daf Daled Amud Aleph Shevesi Le'el, the Makshep Shita, the Yotzi and Matzah's Kusi. The Gemara says you're Yotzi with the Matzah the Kusi. The Gemara said, at first said you don't have to be worried about chametz. You're allowed to eat the matzah kusi. Then it says you could even use it for matzah's mitzvah. Right? And the Gemara says, so what's the chiddush? If it's kosher, it's not chametz. Like, why can't you use it? Why do you have to tell me? Umataretz, the Gemara says, ma'adatema lo b'ki b'shim. Or you might say that even though they're careful not to have a chametz stick, but who says the kusi know that it has to be made l'shem matzah's mitzvah? So the chiddush is we say they are b'kiyim, that they do it l'shmer l'shem matzah's mitzvah. And l'shem mitzvah, you would have thought maybe they don't have that. And he says, "V'yamrin stam kasher the yotzim, my ichva stam b'kin b'shmir." So he's saying, you bring a right from that Gemara, because Gemara says there was a havamina that you couldn't use their matzah because maybe they're not b'kin b'shmir. They don't know you need shimur l'shem matzah's mitzvah. And he says, so even if they don't know, if you say stam is good, so even if you don't know they were bucky, so why shouldn't it be good at stam l'shmor? Elamai stam isn't l'shmor. I guess stam isn't l'shmor. It's like he's learning, because it could be they were making stam matzahs for Pesach and not l'shem matzah's mitzvah. He says the same thing is true by b'tzeikas hanachrim, that it says that you could eat the b'tzeikas of nachrim and Pesach, except you can't use it for matzah's mitzvah. The das Tosas getting a menachas, the goy havi kastam Tosas holds whenever a goy does something, he doesn't have a koach of l'shmoah, but he doesn't have a koach of shlol l'shmoah either. A goy is always considered stam, and still we say the goy havi kastam, and we say it's no good for matzah's mitzvah, so must be stam. It's not considered l'shmoah. That's the pre-chiddush. He's saying his two rayas. The ayin sham od. The posek came that he passes halach l'maisa, like this the pre-chiddush, that stam is lav l'shmoah. Okay, now he says mavur b'sukkah daf tesam and aleph sukkah yeshen. If you have an old sukkah that was made months and months before sukkahs, so it says over there Beis Shammai posting. Beis Shammai says you can't use that sukkah on sukkahs. Well, Beis Hillel are machshirin. So then the Gemara says a sukkah yeshen, what's called an old sukkah? If it was made more than 30 days before the Chag, 31 days, 40 days before the Chag, and it was made stam. I saw the shem Chag, but if you had in mind, even if you made it 40 days before, 50 days before, but you had in mind that you're making it for Sukkot, afilu mitzila shad, even from the beginning of the year, you had it in mind that for Sukkot it's ksheira. So it comes out according to this that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel are arguing that if you have the shmoah, for sure it's kosher no matter when. And the argument is when you did it 40 or 50 days before, and you didn't have kavanah specifically the shmoah. So what's the machlokas? V'ayim b'Rashi sham. Rashi understands the asa sukkah b'stam tol shloshim yom. If you made a sukkah stam within 30 days, where it seems to be everybody Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel holds it's good, even though you didn't have a l'shmoah. So Rashi says the reason they hold it's good is keeping the sholim v'darshan, since 30 days you're already osik in yanim of sukkahs. Havi stam l'shem chag. So then we say the stam is l'shem chag. Avol kodem shloshim, but more than 30 days before, stam is not the chag. And therefore, according to this, the machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel is that Beis Hillel b'chlal doesn't. They say it's kosher even yeshena, even though you didn't have. Stam is not l'chag, because they hold that you don't need l'shmoah by sukkah. And Beis Shammai requires l'shmoah, but within 30 days, even stam is considered l'shmoah, and more than 30 days, stam is not considered l'shmoah. Avon b'ferish also l'shem chag. Everybody holds it's kosher in Beis Hillel. With the Gemara mefarish, the Beis Shammai yalfi mikra dasiyas hamlach hatzarach l'yos l'shem chag l'shem mitzvahs hamelach. But Beis Hillel sarvi de ein tzarach. Right? He holds b'chlal. You don't need it l'shem l'shmoah. Beis Hillel lo yalfi the itzrach kra lo yalfi. Whatever that pasuk that Beis Shammai used, he doesn't learn that pasuk. Itzrach kra davrach. He learns something else out of that pasuk. Ayin shem b'sukkah. V'nei halachik Beis Hillel kiyadua. Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai pasuk like Beis Hillel. B'sukkah's gan bach ksheira kasher. And one of those osio stands for that it wasn't made the shmoah. I'm going made and everything. Ayin shulchan aruch or time siman tafresh lamed vav. Ba'afilu das Beis Hillel tzarech lechadish kol davar. The shulchan aruch says, but even though Beis Hillel holds it's kosher, but you should move the schach. You make a little chiddush in the schach, right? Which is not, I think, the rabbanon. But who who rak mitzvah mechur? In the Torah it's kosher, and stam is to make a little chiddush in the staff to show that you did it for sukkahs is a mitzvah mechur. Ein shem rishon v'achroni. That's Rashi sheet. So Rashi sheet is beisol b'chlal. You don't need the shema. And therefore, no matter when you do it in the year, even if you did it, even if stam is not lishma, but it's kosher, and Beis Shammai holds you need lishma. Within 30 days, we say stam is lishma. However, the story is, since people are showing Gedorshin, I guess it means down deep they have sukkah in mind. I don't know what else the story is. And with more than 30 days, we say stam is not lishma, so you have to have kavanah l'shem chag. That's the way Rashi learns in Machakas B'Sham Beisel. The Tosas Shem Divrei Maskal Sukkah Mevin Rishalmi that says matzah yishen. What about old matzah? It wasn't prepared within 30 days, let's say before Pesach. Plukta to Machakas to Beis Shammai or Beisel. The same Machakas that Beis Shammai seems to say the same Machakas you have by Sukkah Yeshana, you have by Matzah Yeshana. Now, if that's true, according to Rashi, it would come out that Beis Hillel doesn't need the Shema by Sukkot. It would come out that Beis Hillel doesn't need the Shema by Matzah, which would be fakir to the Baba. Always says you need the Shema in halachos like Beis Hillel. So he says, Amar Rav Yossi Dira Kohu, that Kivin Shalo Osel L'Shem Pesach Daraboru Shlo Dikbit Bo. And he says, he doesn't seem to say also Shema, but he says if he didn't do it L'Shem Pesach, the problem is we're afraid that he wasn't careful not to make a chametz. So he seems to be saying, even though it's true you don't need the Shema, but it's a different problem that if you didn't do it L'Shem Pesach, we're afraid that you weren't careful and you let it become chametz. V'nira, the aim diktek boah. So it comes out from that, but if you were careful, it shouldn't become chametz. V'vadei pluktas, totally in the machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. V'sover and Beis Hillel, according to this, Beis Hillel holds it's kosher, just like Sukkah Yeshana is kosher, and Matzah Yeshana is kosher, even if you were, as long as you were medaktik, that it shouldn't be chametz. The Gam Beis Hillel, im lo diktik bo osher lachol afilu kol apesach. Because there's a problem, if you were medaktik, there's a problem that it's chametztik. Right? So it comes out, the Yerushalmi is ending up, that Beis Hillel, just like a Sukkah Yeshana is good because you don't need the Shema. So Beis Hillel would hold by Matzah Yeshana it's good you don't need the Shema. Zakta Minchas Chinuch v'anik tamam od al Yerushalmi ha'eich Matzah Yeshana toli b'pukta de Beis Hillel machshirin kamo Sukkah. My time, but Sukkah ain't sarach asi l'Shema. Aval Matzah mavor lahedje b'shasti lan p'sachim daf lamed chesna beis v'gam Yerushalmi she'evenu l'mal os mem divrei maskal ma. Because I think that was Yerushalmi by the case of Chalos Torah also. The feeling, he says, in kind of heich machshirin Beis Hillel matzah yeshana b'stama. Afilu im diktikwa habin l'shma min Torah v'yeshana lo havi l'shma. The eich tali b'sukkah. How could Yerushalmi say that matzah yeshana is totally what you did is by Sukkah Yeshana? He says Sukkah Yeshana, the whole idea basically is no dinner l'shma. The matzah l'chara throughout Shas we say matzah needs l'shma. Okay. Re'isi. Wait.
He etzli Tamir Gedola.
He etzli Tamir Gedola. V'vadei gam Beis Hillel paslik even the havi shlo l'shma. Dahainu you need the same matzahs mitzvah. For Isi Pnei Yeshua Sukkah Sham Hikshal Yerushalmi, my time of posting Beis Shammai, he seems to have a kasha in reverse. Bishlam of a Sukkah Yeshlem Kol Chag HaSukkos. Aval Matzah, they don't have the pasuk. So Manolan de Boy Lishma. So why does he's asking in reverse? Why does Beis Shammai hold by Matzah and need Lishma?
Talking about matzah just in general?
Oh, matzah for Pesach, of course.
I mean, the matzah, but not the matzah.
So why shouldn't matzah yeshana? He's asking why shouldn't matzah yeshana be kosher? Bishlam was sukkah yeshana. Beis Shammai holds us no good because you need the shema. So what's wrong with matzah yeshana?
He's not talking about the matzah of the chilus matzah. He's just talking about having any matzah on Pesach.
Hey, even a chilus matzah, the mitzvah, matzah yeshana. He's saying with Kosav, he says, so where does the Makar, he says, Beis Shammai has a pasuk for Sukkah, where's the pasuk for Matzah? So that's what he's going to ask. He says, he says, Bishlam Sukkah Yeshnam Krach Sukkah. So, but Matzah Menon the boiler Shema, the Kosav, the Efsher, maybe they learn now Tesva Mechag Sukkah. So you see, he's clearly. He's talking about the Matzah, even Matzah's mitzvah. He says maybe you learn now Matzah's mitzvah from Tesva Sukkah. So Mefalpa was that. He says, but Tama Ekra. He says, I'm going to scream out Tama Rabbeinu Pnei Yeshua. That's the Pnei Yeshua learn all these psukim that we have in the Bible. He says, Hey Cheli Meina B'Sigyus Hashas B'Psachim B'Rov HaPoskim B'Simen Tavsamach the Matzah Boy Kavanim in a Torah. Right? In Ayin Tashem it says in a thing that the Paskins, the Daita Hu Hasmach, this pasuk is Shmartas and Matzahs that says Lishma is only in Hasmach because really the word doesn't say Lishma, just as the Shmartas and Matzahs. But Prichadish Sosi Kanav Tamalov, it's not a Rabbanon, it's a Deraisa. I'll call upon him. He says, so he's asking the Kash, how was it possible to say Beis Hillel holds you don't need the Shema like Beis Sukkah? And he says, Pnei Yeshua asks the Kash in reverse, where does the Beis Shammai get to say you need the Shema? And he says he doesn't understand the Pnei Yeshua doesn't know what about all the Gemaras that say in the Shema. Ayin Shem okay. I'll call upon him. He says if he had another Mahalach. And why he doesn't deal with the Gemaras and the Bible that say you need a Shema, he should have mentioned it. I'm asking just the opposite. I need Tamal Yerushalmi Batosa Shevi Yerushalmi the Beis Hillel Sari the Yotzim. And how could Beis Hillel say Yotzi? But Emes Misugas Hashas Yinan Mavur the Minator Tzarot Mashma Bim Ken Gam Beis Hillel Modim B'Matzah. So this, I think, maybe he's going to go into this, but you have to see what the Yerushalmi is talking about it. In other words, all you see in the Bible is that Shalol Lishma is no good, but what about Stam? So he was assuming that Stam is no good also.
Right.
But that was his. He didn't bring a proof to it. He just said it's mistaber to him. But you could learn, let's say, the Mashal Pnei Yeshua could have learned all the Gemaras in the Bible they are talking about Kavanah Shalol Lishma. So he said that for sure is a psul. And the Yerushalmi holds that Sukkah Yeshana and Matzah Yeshana is not direct kavanah shalol lishma. It's just it's stam, right? And the Pnei Yeshua was saying that he understood that stam should be good.
Yeah.
And so where does Beis Shammai get that you need mamish lishma? Why shouldn't stam be good? And Beis Hillel holds stam is good.
Because there's nothing in those cases that say you actually don't have. It's not. These are all cases of stam.
Which
these things over here about the sukkah, Yeshena,
all cases of stam.
Right.
So the Minchas Chinuch is having this problem. The way I see it is because he held stam is not good. When you need a shema, you stam. Minasfar he held stam is not good. But I'm just trying to say right now, maybe he's going to go into this, that maybe the Pnei Yeshua didn't learn like that. I mean, we saw on the bottom that some people didn't learn that held that stam by matzah is no good. So maybe he understood that whole machlok was by Shaim, Beis Hillel is by stam. And therefore he said, and he held that stam is Beis Hillel being machshir stam is good, and he was asking how does Beis Shammai know you have to have a mamish lishma?
I'm also trying to the thing according to Rabbanans over here. I understand how it makes a difference if why they say this machlokas would be the Raisa. Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai are just talking whether it's. And they're trying to answer the question over here.
No, he said the Pnei Yeshua asked the Kash Lamashal that by Sukkah you have a pasuk in Matzah, you don't have a pasuk.
Yeah, but that would not.
So therefore, what?
That wouldn't be an issue in the actual Psak Halacha Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel is saying it's okay, but he's asking the question as Beis Shammai. There's no pasuk to back up Beis Shammai, so other people are answering that as a Rabbanan. Isn't the issue?
What do you mean?
Isn't it over here? How does he deal? The issue is how did
and his kasha was that we say
where does Beis Shammai get the union of kavanah from? There's no pasuk. Right?
His own kasha was on Beis Hillel. He says, how could the Pnei Yeshua forget the sigas of Psachim, right? And the Gemara and the Meforshim that say you need the Shema, Minatorah, and these are drushes. He's saying that you need it Minatorah. So he puts it aside that could be these drushes were only the Rabbanic drushes.
What difference if it's? I mean, the question is not a derisive, it's halachah l'maisa question. He's asking the question, how could Beis Hill forget all these points, even if you say all these Gemaras are only drobbanans? I mean, it doesn't really affect. Unless he's just throwing that in. I think
he's throwing it in. I just think.
Yeah.
Maybe the Shalmi doesn't hold these drobbanans or something like that. If it's drobbanans, it's not such a strong thing.
Yeah, I know. It seems to be a there's malachos halacha Beis Hill and Beis Shammai.
I hear what you're asking.
Just.
Okay. I'm pre-chader shim taps and ches heavy to sef the perik beis halacha gimel yotzim b'matzah yeshena v'hu she'asan l'shem Pesach. B'zanicha kiven d'asam l'shma. Kamash malan hatosefta the after haya asar the davka bera Pesach k'mavur sham that maybe the shma has to be made right before Pesach be the shma. V'achar zeh maybe Yerushalmi has a gamkein, and then the pre-chader, so the Tosefta says he has no problem because you need the shma, and he says v'achar kach maybe Yerushalmi has a gamkein u'Yerushalmi mavur lahedra shelo asan l'shem Pesach v'atam delo diktik. But the only problem was because he wasn't careful. Utamoa, what do you need that point? The table the Besil Modim given the low Abel Shma. It shouldn't be any good because it's not Lishma. The Gulfa din the Mavur Bishami Shlo Diktik but Tamoa. The Emes Bigmar Didan Mema Manaf the Sekos Anachim Adam Open Pesach. Well Rashi after low raw klal, even though you didn't see that they were careful that didn't make chametz stick. Even the lack of simani chametz. The reason, like I told you last week, that some people say Sekos Nachrim, it doesn't have certain simanim. We don't know these simanim good, but those days they could tell from simanim that it's not chametz, right? So he says im kain. So what is Yerushalmi saying that if it's low diktik ba, it's not good? Why didn't the simanim help? If it helps by sekos shel nachrim, why doesn't it help by this case im kain mikoshkin Yisrael below diktik? It should be because the simanim should help. Ak l'shita rishoni mayin l'mayla. In other words, you can't depend on the siman even time in the Gemara. When it says Sekos Nachrim, means the Jew saw that the goy was careful not to let it become chametz. Rakla, that he just didn't do shmira lishma, so that's why by Sekos Nachrim you could eat, because the Jew saw that he was careful that it shouldn't become chametz, but it wasn't shmira lishma. Then Yerushalmi works in good that lo diktik bo it's aser ba'achila because you can't use simanim to prove that it's not chametz. I'll call upon him, but he still sticks to his guns. Dibur Yerushalmi t'mol mafiani staiti v'chein ha-tosis that brings that Yerushalmi doesn't mevlo matzatzi mishi yisar ba zeh. Let's finish. I'll call upon him Yerushalmi Matzah Shavuot Sukkah, v'chein letosef the Yotzi Matzah Yeshana, Muvad Shias L'Shem Pesach, Im Kain Dafka Matzah Yeshana, the Stama Lo Nafik, Aval Im Nasa Tok Shloshim Yom Kodol Pesach. We say Stama is L'Shma Tamo Sukkah. Right? So never before he said, what's the din of Stama? It's Mustavertim, Stama is no good. And now he's making a chiluk, Stam within 30 days should be good, just like it's good by Sukkah. And Stam before 30 days is no good.
Right.
So I remember, I don't remember the Yisodos and the Rayas. I remember that there was a whole shaila, like by Lishma, by a get, it's a din in the get. The get has to be done Lishma. It's a chalos and l'shem get, but the get has to be Lishma. And the shaila was Lishma by matzah. Is it a din in the matzah? The matzah has to be Lishma, or is there a stam, another din that you need a shemur l'shem matzah, but it's an outside factor? And I don't remember the G'darim, but the Mahalach was that this machlokas in the Yerushalmi between Beis Hill and Beis Shammai was somehow connected. Was there a din l'shma in matzah, in the chetza of matzah? And Beis Shammai said there was. To me, the sukkah, and the chetza of the sukkah has to be l'shma. And Beis Hill said there's no such din. And the Menachina's kasha is, doesn't Beis Hill agree with all these dinim that we have in the Gemara of Shimur, L'Shem, Matzah, L'Shma by Matzah? So they're mahalach. They made nafkaminas. They're just trying to think of the nafkaminas. So they're mahalach. Of course, he agrees to that. Then, but that's that din of shimer l'shem matzah isn't an elchefsa of matzah. That's an outside lishma. But they made nafkaminas. I have to try to remember what.
Unless it's stam, it could be that stam is the
stam would be the
difference.
difference.
Get, you really need lishma like that. But then some.
Yeah.
So it seems that really
that wasn't because that fits in the way that's why I made the chilek without any lumdus that
right, but it really fits in that the Minchas has really painted him himself into a corner because he really is taking this position on stam.
Right.
But by sukkah, I can really understand the difference. In the 30 days before the sukkah, you're making the structure. It's obviously unique that you're making the structure. But matzah, his own argument about matzah, well, you're baking matzah because you need matzah to eat. It doesn't have to be for the mitzvah matzah. But I really think it's interesting the way.
I'm trying to remember that Chilukim they made. Then one thing I remember was he spoke out. This is strange because Ritterer never spoke out Baruch Bears, and then he spoke out. There's a stira in Baruch Bears. One place he read the stira. So one place Baruch Bears said it was a din in the Chetzah Shel Baruch Bears M'Shem Reb Chaim.
Yeah.
And one other place he showed that I don't know where Baruch Bears said, but Reb Chaim said it's not a din in the Chetzah of Matzah. But I don't remember the. Maybe for next week I'll look up.